Most people want to see how to timber a shaft. Didn't you used to do that?
All the time.
Oh man, you're like a professional at this. Well, I'm gonna map out my shaft right here, and I'm gonna auger down as far as I can, then I'll dig it by hand after that. So anyway, I'm gonna get to digging. Yeah, that looks like a good spot right there. I got all this alluvial deposit coming down. In this world, there's two kinds of people. Those with loaded guns, and those who dig. Today I dig. Man, oh, dude, man's just yo ho, oh, at the bottom of. What you're gonna do is you're gonna square up your hole. And not only does the sets have to fit in there, but the lagging too. Because I've seen a lot of guys try to dig this and forget about the lagging, they can't get it in. Now, one of the big questions I've been getting lately is, Jeff, how you gonna hang your lagging? You're putting your lagging on, you want your lagging just to go halfway down. Well, that way the next set of lagging has something to go on to. And then my lagging can go on right there, and then down below I leave half of that 4x6 open so I can put more lagging on. In the old days they used a 1x1 or a 2x2 strip of wood, and then they would just set the lagging on top of it, and then the next one would go underneath. Well, because I'm using such small timbers, I can't put a 2x2 there because it'll eat up too much space. So what do? We put angle iron on there, son of Jim. See that? First thing I'm gonna do is put in my end bearing sets. I'm gonna put one here and one here. The long beams in here are called wall plates. See that? That's a wall plate there. There's one there. Now here on the end, these are called end plates. There's one there, and there's one there. All right, now these are called just posts. Right there, you see that? This whole thing sits on these right here, and these are called end bearing plates. And what they do is they support this entire structure from the top of the shaft and sometimes down through the shaft. And we went ahead and extended these out just a little bit further so that the entire set could sit on this end bearing plate right here. And it sticks out 2 feet on each side, here and here. Now here you can see where we left just enough room for the lagging. Here's the lagging right here. These are called lagging. This is all thread, but it's our hanging bolt. Basically what bolts each one of these sets together. And then I'm gonna put my wall plates in, and then I'm gonna put my hanging bolts in, and then I'll put the next set in, and I'll hang them in there. Gotta make sure these guys are level, because everything's gonna be built off of this. It's gonna be our end bearing plate right here, and it's very important that it's very level. And then eventually when you go down another 100 feet, you put another one in, just to take the load off. Got my 4 posts in, you see that? One in each corner. Then you just tighten it up, and it brings it up in there. Collar sticking up high enough to where all the other dirt can't come in. And of course you want your collar to be high so no dirt and rain and stuff like that gets in it. If you're gonna be digging your shaft on flat ground, where are you gonna put the waste material? And it's called a mine dump, not a tailing pile. Mills make tailing piles, mine make mine dumps. You're just gonna have to build another set up. It's gonna have to come up to about here. It's about 5 feet up. You just bolt on another set. And then by doing that, you have a platform around it. And then that way you have somewhere to dump all your mine dump, all your waste rock. Now if you have a hill on the side somewhere, you could just dump it off to the side and not even worry about building up another set. Yeah, look at those joints, huh? I got room for my lagging back there. See my lagging strip? Back in there? Then I can dig down and put in another set. You're about what, 4 feet down in the ground? See those extra holes right there? After you've gone down about 6 or 7 feet, if you're doing it this way, where each set is about 3 feet apart, then you're gonna do what? You're gonna hang your next set. You see that? There's your next set right there. It's hanging with those hanging bolts. You're gonna put those in first, and then you're gonna put your end plates on. And then after that, you're gonna put in your posts, and then your lagging. Shafts are measured by what's called in the clear, and that's what's here in between here and here, not on the outside, okay? The timbers we're using today are 4x6s. They should be 6x6, but we can get away with a 4x6. Now with a 4x6, I can build something small like this, which is a 2.5 by 4. If I start getting any bigger than that, I should have 6 by 6. If I get bigger than that, it should be what, 8 by 8. The other important thing is the distance from here to here. The maximum distance that should be between those two beams is 5 feet. No more than that. All right, now on your ladders here, you should notch your 2x4s so that this rung can sit inside of this 2x4. If not, then you need to have a piece of wood in between each one of these rungs. Now, if you're timbering a shaft that's 5x3 or 6x4, I highly recommend you using what's called a divider. And a divider just sits in between and it creates a 2-compartment shaft. When you get about 4 feet down, then you can start timbering it, unless it's really, really soft. If that's the case, you're gonna need what's called a traveling set. Traveling set basically goes down with you, keeps the lagging, and of course all that soft sand back. The way that traditional mining works is they use what's called a lap joint. And what they do is they cut out a small piece, a notch, on the top and on the bottom, and then this can slide right in like such. You see that? And then the hanging bolts go in here and here. And then your post sits in that notch right there. It's all held together with those hanging bolts. All this just to make one set. Everything's got to be pre-cut here. Then we'll load it up in the trailer and take it out to the mine site and reassemble it. Alright, we're going to go ahead and put that set in. There's the wall plate, another wall plate. Got my hanging bolts in. I just got to put my end plates in right there. Should be good to go. Got my end plates down there in the hoisting bucket. And I got my tools right there. The nice thing about having a shaft sinking bucket or a skip is you can load all your tools and your lumber in there and drop it down in there to hold it for you while you're putting everything together. Let's get these guys out of here. All right, we got our end plates in. These are our wall plates right here. And then this is our hanging bolt, which is all thread. To keep the end plates in, because the wall plates have a tendency to drift out, we're gonna put screws in to hold it temporarily. And then once we get the collar braces in, those are the 4x4s that keep the sets apart, we're gonna put dowels, hardwood dowels, up into the lap joint and into the collar brace 4x4 itself. And that'll lock everything together. Then we tighten down on these hanging bolts, and that pulls the whole set up into the set underneath it and locks it all together. You'll see what I mean here in a minute. All right, this is our first lap joint right here. I'm gonna go ahead and put a temporary screw in him, and that one, and the two behind us. I'm gonna go ahead and anchor this one and the other two, and then we'll get the collar braces in. All right, we're using straps to pull these half lap joints together. And that way it's a lot easier while we go to put these guys in right here. You see that? Locks everything in place and makes it nice and tight. So everything bolts together. And I got a couple more I got to put in right here. And I'm going to show you how that's done. Alright, first thing we're going to do is loosen up these hanging bolts. Not too much, because I don't want to go for a ride. That way we drop our set just a little bit. And that gives us the room we need between this set and this set so we can get our collar brace in. Alright, so I've loosened it enough where I can get the top one in right there. See that? Where it fits in nice and snug. And I got the bottom one in there fitting nice and snug. You see that? And then what we do is we bolt it together and it locks it in place. Alright, we got our vice grips in here to hold this all thread from spinning. I'm running a 1/2-inch drive. Just tighten that marker down. Nice and tight. This wood is new, so it's a little bit wet, and when it dries it's going to shrink, and when it does that all these bolts are going to get loose, so you have to go through and periodically tighten them up. because if not, you're gonna get a lot of slop in your joints and a lot of slop in your sets. All right, I went ahead and saved the last one. I figured we could put it in together. I loosened up my hanging bolt so I'd have enough room to slide it in, make sure that the pocket that it's gonna sit in is clean. So we're gonna go ahead and slide him into position. Get him up there. Get him locked in. Then we go ahead and tighten up on the hanging bolt, and it'll lock this set together with this set right here. All right, we got the set in. The joints look really good. Everything's tight. Look at that. Does that look good or what? All ready for the lagging. I got my lagging strips on the back. What we gotta do now is drill our holes for the dowels that go right up through here to lock it all together. And I like using 3/4 on my dowels. That way nothing's gonna move. I like using wood glue when I put my dowels in. It just helps lock everything together. Nice glue stick. Give me some of that glue stick, baby. And we're gonna pound him right into submission. Put it in that little hole right there. Yeah, baby. Yeah, that's what it should look like. I gotta do the other 3, and that marker's locked in tight. That way I know that this thing right here ain't going nowhere. And then I can hang my next set off right here, come down to here, and then we can start timbering this marker off right here as we're driving forward to get that AU. Yeah, that looks real good. Those plates right there are gonna hold the lagging in place. See that? It's a cheap, easy way to put them in. The lagging's gonna sit on that strip. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. See how it sits on that strip? Keeps it in place. And that way we can just slide it over where it needs to go. Just like that. See that? And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna backfill behind the lagging. You're gonna put rocks, dirt, wood, anything you can get back there to put pressure on this lagging. Because you don't want any space between this lagging and all that dirt. You want it to fit as tight as possible, so we're gonna cram wood or anything we can find back behind there. You want to backfill behind that because you don't want any space in between this lagging or any of the sets. It's supposed to block and wedge that in there. Use miner's wedges to hold it in place. You don't want this thing shifting, you don't want the ground shifting in. Because if you give that ground an inch, it'll take a mile. So I'm gonna go ahead and block and backfill that, and then we'll do the rest of them. I'll show you what that looks like. Looking good, son of a boy. That's nice looking lagging, nice set, everything's tight. Joints look good. If you're new here, I want you to subscribe, all right? Because subscribers help the channel grow. Fire in the hole! Huge gypsum crystals everywhere. All along this seam right here. This is nothing but crystals running through that whole thing. Look at this. See the size of those crystals? Isn't that the prettiest thing you ever saw? Huge gypsum crystals. And in this mine, we've established that 2 bells is up, 3 bells is down, and 1 bell is emergency stop. And no, we don't have one for man on skip. I'm sure as we go deeper though, I'm gonna get tired of running those ladders. I'll just hop in this bucket. Now on our hoisting bucket, our shaft sinking bucket, it's a 30-gallon drum. We put an apron here on the end. You see that? Right here. That way when it goes up to dump, it doesn't spill anything. And down here we got the ears. And how many out there can guess what that is? Huh? Leave me a comment down below. Tell me if you can figure out what the heck those are.
There she goes.
Alright, we're using that as a trough so we can feed the material from here down into our shaft sinking bucket. Makes things a whole lot easier just to run it down on the side here, and you'll see what I mean. So there's our ladder. We're using 2x4s. You can see how we notch these together. 2x4s. That way they lock in. All these timbers right here have all been notched, and all these have been notched, and of course half lap joints to hold it all together. We got 2 sets put in. They're held in place with the collar brace. Now we got our post set at about 5 degrees in. Got our caps on with our spreaders. The only thing that's missing now is the lagging. The lagging goes behind the posts and the cap. And that way when the dirt tries to come in, it's forced up against there. First thing we're gonna have to do is trim out some of the back and the ribs so we have enough room to put the lagging in. I got the 2x8s for the back and then the 2x12s for the ribs. And they're already pre-cut. So all I have to do is slide them in place, wedge them, and if I have to do any cribbing, then I can crib too. But I don't think I'm gonna have to do any cribbing. I'm gonna tell you right now, son of Jim, putting lagging in is hard work. I tell you what, I'd rather be mucking all day than to put this stuff in because the entire shape of the drift has to conform to the shape of these sets and the lagging. And you always get one rock that don't want to help out. It's always the last one that don't want to go in. Don't look too bad. It's in there pretty good, solid. All right, let's do the side lagging. All right, all I gotta do is backfill this, and this is solid. I mean, look at that, that's not going nowhere. The sets are solid, everything's wedged in. I might not have to use wedges and blocks after all. And then we do the other side, son of Jim. I'll tell you what, those old timers were tough as nails. Next time you're in a mine, you think about all the labor that goes into making these sets and putting them in. And then when you see miles of these things underground, then you'll have an appreciation for just how tough it was. All right, all I gotta do is backfill and it's good. This is how much muck I had to muck out just to get the lagging in. And this drift mine is loaded with gold. And we found some really good river channels down here that we punched into and found some big nuggets, 3/4 ounces. Look at that. Look at that thing, that's huge. I wonder if it's a sign of this. All the gold that comes out of this gold mine goes directly to our premium patrons. It's our way of saying thank you for all their support over the years, because without them, this drift mine wouldn't exist. So we give all the gold nuggets away to them. All you gotta do is sign up as a premium patron. Look for the little icon at the end of the video that looks something like that. Hey, you greasy bastard. Just click on it, make a $10 pledge, and you're in like Flynn, son of Jim.